Welcome back to Talking Tech at Microsoft. I'm Mohamed Mall, and I'm very excited to be able to connect with the community and chat to you today about Windows 365. Over the last 4.5 years, I have been working in our cloud managed devices team at Microsoft, and it's been awesome to be able to work with the tech community, with our customers, and to be bringing a capability like Windows 365 to the market. So in this session, my intention is to go through a few things. I would like to talk to you a little bit about why we built Windows 365, right? I'd like to talk a little bit about what it is and what it's not, okay? Uh, I have some great customer feedback on Windows 365. And then I'd like to do a bit of a tech deep dive on how Windows 365 has evolved in the time that it's been here and some of the features. And hopefully we have lots of questions from you, and I'd love to be able to cover those. And if you're watching this as a recording, certainly post it into the comment section, and we'd love to connect on the LinkedIn community. So let's kick off. When Microsoft looked at building Windows 365, we looked at the capabilities that were in the market, right? And we thought about kind of 10 things, and this is my personal perspective, that customers were looking for that they were not always getting in terms of what was currently in market. So the first thing, and the thing that Windows 365 is most, right, is we built Windows 365 to deliver that personal cloud computing experience, to give you the ability to have your personal cloud PC that roams with you, that's able to be accessible from a variety of different devices, and is seamless and makes it easy and enjoyable for you to use that capability. But aside from just people and the person who's experiencing that personal cloud PC, what we wanted to also do was enable organizations to deliver remote and hybrid work easily. One of the challenges we saw in the marketplace was that people were so focused on building infrastructure and infrastructure capability that the user experience, that the technical complexity, that the challenges with having to manage elastic or seasonality was causing a challenge for our customers. So ultimately, we wanted to enable organizational expansion and change without those traditional infrastructure or design constraints. But also bringing it back to a person, right? We wanted someone to be able to start with a cloud PC that may be smaller, right? It may only have 4 gig of RAM. It may only have 128 gig storage. But then as that person used that cloud PC, as they needed or desired more power, as the analytics showed the need for them to do that, to have that more power, to allow the IT admins to scale that machine up, whether it's storage, whether it's memory, or whether it's CPU. So you're not fixed into having that PC over a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year term, as an example. And ultimately, from an organizational perspective, the other thing we saw from customers was they wanted the ability to secure organizational data and customer data within that type of walled garden construct, right? Whilst using the security and capability that we bring through with conditional access to the cloud PC. And I'll say the money shot effectively being that we want to deliver a brilliant, or we wanted to deliver a brilliant end user and customer IT pro experience. So those are some of the reasons, and would love to have you comment or ask questions around that as well. So now let's talk a little bit about what is Windows 365, As I've said, it's your personal cloud PC. And what does that really mean? So we prefer to look at this from a person perspective, from Jane or John's perspective, right? We want to be able to deliver to them their content wherever they go, whether they're on an iPad, whether they're on a MacBook, whether they're on a Windows PC, right? Whether they're on an Android device. We want to also deliver that consistent setting and view across all those devices, right? We want them to have various compute options. Start with that 2 gig or 4 gig memory or 2 CPU and scale all the way to 4 vCPU, 32 gig RAM with additional support if required, right? And then also from a Windows 365 perspective, we want a person to be able to have access to the apps they need when they need them. But in a flip side, we want to make it easy for IT pros to deliver those apps. So you don't have to bring specific capability or skill to deliver these apps. You manage these apps and you deploy them as you do them today with Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So something very important for our IT folk out there. Scalable storage I've spoken about, and certainly unified security and identity management, using the same tools and capability you use for your physical devices. So let's talk about what and how Windows 365 offers this as an additional option. Today, a lot of people are comfortable with the native Windows 11 experience. So that's on a Windows PC or on a tablet, gives them across multiple price points and form factors. It gives people the ability to choose their physical device type, right? We've also then seen situations where customers are choosing to deploy Windows 11 using cloud VDI capability. An example of that being Azure Virtual Desktop. And organizations love that capability because it's giving IT pros that flexibility and control from an infrastructure perspective, giving them the ability to customize that user experience and build their own bespoke sessions for end users. What we see Windows 365 as delivering is that personal cloud PC, that one-to-one experience optimized on any device, right? But built from an experience perspective. So whereas with Azure Virtual Desktop, you would have to set up and manage infrastructure. With Windows 365, we see you adding a license to a user and the user being delivered a cloud PC, right? We want to simplify that as much as possible. And I think aside from what I say as a Microsoft techie, let's hear about this from a customer. And the customer we're talking about here is from Coates. And I love the way Coates looks at this particular conundrum, right? They're VP of Technology and Operations. And they say they have to spin a lot of yarn for every dollar that they spend on technology, right? And having Windows 365 in that toolbox gives them an option of utilizing their investments in Microsoft 365 while delivering flexibility in terms of how end users are able to access their corporate applications and deliver the performance which they expect. So I thought that would be an interesting way for you to understand all up why Microsoft has built Windows 365, and how our intent is to move the service forward. So let's get into some a little bit more deep technical stuff. One of the things we learned about Windows 365 when we first launched it was we wanted to make it easy for IT pros to consume the service, right? And the first iteration of Windows 365 pretty much had only one way where customers could deploy Windows 365. And that was through a hybrid Azure AD join using an on-premises network connection. Subsequent to that, we have now gone Azure AD join as well, and that's now gone general availability. And we give you two options with Azure AD join. You can either bring your own network connection, or you can use the Microsoft hosted network. And if you use the Microsoft hosted network, you're getting access to the super bandwidth that we have available in our data centers. So let's drill into this in a little bit more detail. In the hybrid Azure AD join architecture with Windows 365 Enterprise, and I need to say Windows 365 Enterprise because this is different from Windows 365 for Business. We break down the network into two high-level views, right? The first one being the network that's managed by the customer, and the second one being the network that's managed by Microsoft. From a customer perspective, in hybrid Azure AD join, you are using or delivering your own Azure virtual network. You create those VNets, you control them, you specify the routing rules, you have the ability to control how those authentication tickets flow over to your domain controllers, because these are hybrid AD join machines, Azure AD join machines after all. And that delivers deep integration, I'll say, with your on-premises line of business applications. So we've seen lots of customers have line of business applications that need some type of wire access, right, into their on-premises network or into their own personal cloud networks. And this type of bring your own network with hybrid Azure AD join that brought group policy across as well delivered that type of capability for those customers. And they love that access. And again, from a network flow perspective, you were able to use an iOS, Android, Mac, Windows type of device to connect to this Windows 365 machine. Now, one of the things we found when we were going through these deployments was customers were finding it sometimes a challenge to set up the virtual networks. They were saying, Microsoft, we're not looking for hybrid Azure AD join. We would like to just go full-on modern management with Microsoft Endpoint Manager. We would love to be able to do Azure AD join, as an example. So the second capability we've released has been Azure AD join. But in this particular nuance, it's still bring your own network. So this is a choice that you have as a customer, right? Which means your devices are joined to your Azure AD tenant, utilized and managed by your Microsoft Endpoint Manager config, right? But your network connection is something you've controlled, you've set up within Azure. So that's a virtual network, and you've got complete routing control on that network, be it internet access, be it access to your customer on-premises or cloud environments. And this is giving you, I'll say, the ability to start with full-on modern management, Azure AD join, and also allow you to customize the network traffic outside of that Windows 365 virtual machine. Inside and outside, I should say. Now, we've had customers look at this and say, this is awesome, but I still need to bring my own virtual network, right? What I would like to do instead is have a choice of not bringing my own virtual network, but perhaps utilize and use the capability that Microsoft has got in terms of the environment, in terms of the wire speed or the internet speeds that Microsoft enjoys out of their data centers. So that's the third particular option that you would have. And in this option, it's a Microsoft hosted network. So these are the device is, to all intents and purposes, I will say it's a zero trust type of architecture, right? Because the device is connected to the internet. It has zero trust principles on it. It's managed out of Endpoint Manager, and there is no dependency for the customer to manage the network in any way and form. So I thought drilling into these three types of network architectures would give our customers and IT pros an opportunity to see how flexible Windows 365 has become over this short period of time that it has been in market. So let's talk a little bit about what some of the evolution is and what of some of the futures are for Windows 365. One of the things I love about the capability is how closely our engineering team listens to customer feedback and rapidly brings that feedback back into the service and back into the product. So I've just highlighted a few items that are interesting to me that I talk about, right? There's a much larger list of items on our docs site, and please, we can share those links with you later on. So the first part that I'm excited by, and that's because I've been beta testing this capability as well, has been support for RDP short path. And I'm loving that experience, right? The Teams optimizations together with the RDP short path allow me to use a Windows 365 cloud PC without my customers even knowing that I'm using a cloud PC. And that's exactly what we want, right? So they still see video, they see background blur, they believe that my Teams experience is off a physical device effectively, and I love tricking them and playing around with them with that type of capability. So that is awesome. The second piece is, and this has been an ask from the security folks, saying for device provisioning, you're looking to have cloud PCs with secure boot enabled. So this is something that has also gone GA and is now rolling out across the Windows 365 environment. We also want to make it easier and simpler for organizations to monitor and troubleshoot their devices, right? So we are providing an opportunity for end users to easily correct error logs or be able to capture that and pass that on to the IT team if required. A fourth piece that I'm excited by is end user feedback. So we're providing the opportunity for your people that use Windows 365, for Jane or John, who ultimately uses that machine, to provide feedback directly to Microsoft from within that Windows 365 web client. And we're seeking to remove those barriers so that we can continuously improve the service. One challenge we've seen in the market has been, and I had this with some of my early customers, was that sometimes policies like firewall policies or network policies have broken the ability for the client to function or the client to function really well. So one of the things we're bringing into the capability, one of the features, sorry, I should say, we're bringing into the Windows 365 web console is for the end user to provide or deploy a manual connectivity check. So that will allow them to run a connectivity check on their cloud PC from windows365.microsoft.com to make sure everything is working as it should. An extension that I think IT pros would love is device history report, right? We are seeking to remove, I'll say, the subjective view of I need a faster PC, or my PC is slow, or my network is slow, by bringing in data and analytics. So we already have in our cloud PC analytics dashboard, we already deliver certain telemetry to you, for example, illustrating to you why you have some slow logon times, illustrating to you which applications are consuming CPU and memory. But we're looking to further expand this reporting. And by expanding this reporting, two of the items that have been asked for, which are the top 5 processes impacting CPU spike times, and the other top 5 processes that are impacting RAM spike times. So this is giving the IT pro a view of how the end user is using Windows 365, but then also even for spike times where that is impacting the user performance, and allow you to make an objective decision as to whether they should get a faster or more powerful cloud PC, as an example. We've had enormous investment on the forensic auditing piece, and that is something that's going to be coming through shortly. So for example, we've recently brought to market a snapshot and a point-in-time restore capability on cloud PCs. What we're also looking to do is allow you to create a snapshot and allow you to bring that into your electronic discovery solution. So making forensic auditing of cloud PCs really easy. Now, this is what's interesting and something I want to leave you with, right? As we go through this, you'll see that my session has been all about Windows 365, how it seeks to make organizational management end user experience a more positive experience, and we're taking away the complexity around having to manage the infrastructure. And if there's one tagline that I can leave you with, it's we want to make it really, really simple for you. So feel free to add your comments. Feel free to send through your questions. From a Microsoft perspective, we would love to engage with the wider community. And I look forward to chatting to you on the LinkedIn forums. Thank you.